Hi, Shelly here. I'm always trying to go through my supplies and see what I've got and have I used it in a while. What I did is I went and pulled out my old Texture Boutique. Is this a Sizzix product? Yes, it's a Sizzix product. I just haven't used it in a lot of years, but I bought a lot of these folders back for scrapbooking back in the day, and I thought it'd be fun to see if I could incorporate some of these embossed papers into my project. And I'm just using regular old printer paper today. This is what I use for my texture paste. It's ready to paint in 20 minutes if you apply it in a thin amount. It's good for 50 years on the interior or exterior of your home. So I think she's gonna last. There's another one that's very similar to this, and it is not the one you want. If it doesn't say 20-minute paint ready and Alex Fast Dry, it is not the right one. What I think I'm going to do is just tear these a bit. Again, I don't know how much of this we're going to see or if this is a good idea or not. I just thought it would be fun and something different to try. All right, now I'm just going to use some Mod Podge here. Now I'm going to use my palette knife and just scrape a little bit of my texture paste on here and there around the page. And then I thought about this old rubber stamp that I had and thought, I wonder what that would do if I put that into the modeling paste. Well, it turned out pretty cool. So I'm going to continue on with doing that in a few more places. And what I learned is once your stamp is dirty, you do not get a good pull the second and third time. So what I will do is I will wind up scraping off these other areas and cleaning my stamp a little bit, and then go back and do each of those places again and clean the stamp, not completely, but just a little bit after each one, and I get a much better pull. Once my page is dry, I go in with my flat-sided angled nippers and take off any really high points. And then I'll grab my little sanding block and gently go through and I'm not trying to get it perfect. I love the texture, but just any really high points. And then I'll use a little brush over the trash can and clean everything off. And then it's time for some paint. I'm going to put out my khaki, some off-white, and some of my mustard color. And the mustard isn't dark enough for what I'm thinking this time, so I'm going to add a little bit of burnt umber to that and mix that up to make it a little more of a darker golden color. I also decided to put a little bit of antique gold out on my plate and then with my fingers go in and apply that here and there. Then I'll mix up some navy blue and water and start applying that. For my second layer, I'm going to put another good bit of that watered down navy all over and then put some plastic wrap on top and let it sit for a while. I cut my ornaments out with my Scan and Cut out of a nice medium weight cardstock, and now I'm just going to go through and put a nice coat of that navy in the background for my base coat. Get rid of that white, and then I'm also making sure that I do my edges really well so I don't have any white peeking out. I put a little cobalt out on my palette, and then I'll tap a little bit with my fingers here and there, and then I'm going to get some of that white over there and do the same just to add a little bit of contrast. While my ornaments dry for a few minutes, I'm going to take a look at my background and see how it's doing. So much fun on these kind of things, peeling back things to see what you got. And I just love how this turned out. Whenever I use papers that are going to be on top or glued on top of my art, I want to make sure I seal those really well. So I'm going in with my Mod Podge since I'm working in my art journal, and I'm just going to put a little bit of Mod Podge on either side of my ornaments and then set them aside to dry onto the wax paper. And then once they're all coated, I will go in and tamp all over with a baby wipe just to make sure that my texture is all the same and everything's nice and evenly covered. I'm using an acrylic marker to go in and make the golds holders at the top. I don't know what that's called, but I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to go around and do my edges really quick just to finish them off. I got out my mini mandala stencil, and I'm just going through with a little bit of Mod Podge and a makeup sponge and adding a little bit of this blue glitter on each one. Now that my Mod Podge is dry, I'm going to go in with my Liquitex gloss and just put a nice coating over everything to seal it. I cut another set of ornaments so that I could start working on my canvas here while the others are drying. And I'm just using those to line everything up. At first I was just going to wing it, but I was so terribly out of alignment that I thought I better go in with a ruler and make it a little straighter. So I'm just going to, I made this little stencil for the beads here really quick out of some shapes from my Scan and Cut program. And then I'm going in with my marker and the ruler to make the chain that they hang on. After putting on my original blue in the background, that I'm going in with this metallic lighter blue just to add some dimension to each of my beads. I'm using my Beacon 3-in-1 Fast Grab glue to attach my ornaments. Hey, thanks for joining me in this video, and I hope you'll join me in my next one. Bye for now.